Hey guys, what is up and welcome to my channel. It's a Hardback Life. My name is Jordan, and today we're going to be talking about my November TBR, as well as the books that I read in October. So, without further ado, let's begin. I read a total of 2 books in October. I tried to make it 3, but I just couldn't fit the 3rd book in, or I couldn't finish it before the end of October. Just because I ended up closing on Halloween. So that was a big bummer. But you know what? I finished it like early morning. I stayed up to finish the book that I was reading. So, and it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. But I will share that book with you in a moment. But let's talk about the books that I read in October. So, the first book I started and finished is The Game of Lives by James Dashner. James Dashner, if you didn't know, was responsible for the Maze Runner trilogy. See, this series called The Mortality Doctrine. And it's about three main characters, Michael, Bryce, and Sarah. There are teenagers who are tasked by the VNS, to stop an AI from wreaking havoc in the virtual world as well as eventually the real world. And this AI has a lot of really bad plans, which I cannot share, but this series brings in a lot of questions. Like, first of all, who do you trust? But yeah, this book series was so much fun to read, and I definitely am going to do an in-depth review. Not spoiler, not spoiler-filled one, spoiler-free, of course. But I'm going to just kind of summarize all 3 of these books. And also, I just have to say, with each book, the stakes get higher. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And in the book series, definitely the question of what is real and what is not, because it's a virtual world setting and the real world comes into play as well. Yeah, it's just so crazy. I loved it. And I definitely recommend this. I recommend James Dashner too. He's very accessible. And the other book that I finished in October is, I don't have the physical copy, but I'm going to put it up on the screen. Jade City by Fonda Lee. I absolutely love this book, you guys. More than I thought I would. Because the magic system didn't seem appealing to me when I first heard about it. And I don't know, I love a good mob story, so that's what that was the main thing that drew me to reading it. And also, I love a good story where there's a lot of great family dynamics. And that's what this book had. It was fantastic. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I loved pretty much everything about it. Like, the building of the characters that Fonda Lee did, and the culture, the Asian culture, absolutely. I love history. And so the fact that the author was able to bring in a lot of the history of just Hong Kong and that whole atmosphere, was so beautiful. And I'm definitely going to read Jade War, and then hopefully get my hands on Jade Legacy when it comes out. And I'm going to buy the physical copies for all 3 of these books, because I know I'm going to reread this series after I finally finish it. But I cannot wait to read Jade War. I think I'm going to get my hands on it this weekend. Just got to go find it. And then, yeah. And I gotta say thank you to Kisti for kind of giving me the motivation to finish Jade City, because I started Jade City back in June, and I put it down because I just, like I said, because I just wasn't in the mood to pick it back up at the time. All right, you guys, that was the books that I read, and I also will give an in-depth review on Jade City. Obviously, not spoiler filled, because that would not be fun for you guys. But also, I might do a spoiler. Well, no, I might do a spoiler filled section, because, like, first section be spoiler free, and then second half be spoiler filled. Because, you know what? This book has been out for 2 years now, and I know a lot of people have read it. So, yeah, I'll do a spoiler filled section after the spoiler free. Okay, enough about that. Let's get into the books that I plan on focusing on in the month of November. I've already finished a book for the month of November, and the first book I finished, and I'm going to focus on the rest of the series throughout the month, is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Oh my gosh, you guys, I love this book. If you want any comparisons, I'd say Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson is a good comparison, because in this series we have kind of the same situation, but the stories play out differently, like big time. So in this book series, we have a girl named Pippa, who is basically a very smart girl. She dedicates herself to her schoolwork and is just always has it in on time and stuff like that. Well, she has a senior class project, which is also called a capstone project, and she chooses to focus on a murder that happened 5 years ago prior to this book. And what it was, a girl named Andy Bell was murdered, supposedly, by her boyfriend, Sal Singh, who also ends up dead like a day or two later after she's dead. And it's speculated by the whole town that he killed himself because he was ashamed of the fact that he killed his girlfriend. And our main character thinks that is false, that he didn't kill his girlfriend, like the whole town seems to think. And so she goes on a whole, like, quest, I guess. Not like a quest. It's just like a whole journey to proving Sal's innocence. And she finds out a lot of crazy things about people she didn't know along the way that involves the case. And there's also someone who is trying to stop her at the same time. Like, they keep sending her basically warnings. And yeah, so this is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Definitely should read it. And I will show you guys the other two books in just a second. Another book that I have on my TBR for the month of November is Summer Night by Jim Butcher. It's the fourth book in the Dresden Files. Now, I keep putting this book on my TBR and not reading it, but I have officially started it as of yesterday, so I'm definitely making my way through this. I'm on chapter 5 now, and I'm absolutely loving it. And this series is so good. it's about a guy named Harry Dresden who is a wizard and a detective. And he basically helps the police solve crimes that are basically, they're obviously magical. But there's also other elements to this, and there's this world, like demonic world called the Never Never, which has been explained more so as of book 3, Grave Peril, and it continues to add more as the series goes along. There's 20 books so far. Yeah. And this is book 4, so I have a lot of catching up to do. You guys, this next book, I feel so ashamed that I haven't started it yet, but I so badly want to start this book series. And the book series that I want to start is Malazam, Book of the Fallen. I've heard so much about it, some confusing things, which made me want to turn my head and just like, wait, what? But yeah, this book has been described as postmodern fantasy. At least that's how Andy Smith describes it, and other things. But yeah, so this is postmodern fantasy. I don't know too much about it. There's just a lot of characters though, and there's also 10 books. So I think I figured I'll start it at the end of the year, or towards the end of the year, and then continue reading them as the months go by. Speaking of long series, another book that I want to start, and I can't believe I have not started it yet, is Eye of the World in the Wheel of Time series. I have the majority of the books. I have, I think, 12 of them, of the 14. I just wanted to wait when it came to reading it, because, I wanted to have the majority of the books. Like Malazam, I have all 10 books, and I have been meaning to read them, but just hasn't happened. But Wheel of Time, don't know too much about it. All I know is in this magic system, the women are the ones who have the power. And I love that. Completely different from a lot of fantasies. So I'm looking forward to finally reading this. And I want to at least get the first 2 books done before the series starts. Or at least the first book. I think the first book is more doable than reading the first 2. But I will try to fit in the second book. And again with the series, I plan on reading the 5th book of the Dresden Files. So as soon as I finish the 4th one, I'm going to finish the 5th one. Hopefully. This is called Death Mask, Book 5. Death Masks, sorry. Book 5 of the Dresden Files series. So we shall see. Okay. This series that I'm going to start this month, this one that I'm going to show you, is a trilogy, and it is about a witch and a witch hunter. And you could already guess which book this is. Serpent and Dove. Okay, so I've had this book for a while, and I have gotten the rest of the books throughout the month. Obviously, book 2 I got, I think, beginning of the year, and then book 3 came out, I think, about a couple months ago. Yeah, so I have all 3 books, and I plan on reading them for at least the next couple months. I hope to finish the series, because I want to have a lot of series under my belt before the end of the year. So that's why this month is like a series focused month, because you've seen a lot of series on my TBR. But yeah, this is about a witch and a witch hunter who fall in love, and it goes from there. A lot of bad stuff, I think, is supposed to happen because obviously a witch and a witch hunter falling in love. I mean, yeah. What can go wrong? Next book I really want to focus on, which actually I've already started this, Dune. I don't know too much about it, except our main character is the heir to a throne, I guess? Or, well, his family is like, lives on the planet where spices are a huge thing, and his family, I guess, controls the spices, and they rule the over the planet. And there are other people who would love nothing more than to take the control from them and obviously have the spices all to themselves. So this is Dune. There's more to it than that, obviously, but that's all I know. And after I finish this book, which I hope will be this week, because my plan is to read at least 100 or so pages a day. Yeah, so this book is about almost 800 pages. I think I can do it. This next book is none other than Guards, you guys, by Terry Pratchett. This is part of the Discworld series. I also have Making Money, which is part of the Discworld series. And I've started that book, and I've absolutely laughed my head off from where I was at. This is just a lighthearted fantasy. A lot of comedic moments in this book. Like I said, I've started Making Money, and I absolutely have loved that book. Not finished with it, but I plan on probably picking it up again, and then finishing it this month or next month. And then I plan on reading Guards for sure, though. And like I said, you guys, I plan on finishing the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy, and that also consists of a Good Girl, Bad Blood, which is book number 2, and As Good as Dead, which is book 3. And As Good as Dead came out this year, so I plan on finishing the series. I'm buddy reading it, if I didn't mention that before, with a friend, so looking forward to that. You guys, okay, so I'm kind of also dubbing this month as Cassandra Clare month, because I am a huge fan of the Shadowhunter world and the books. I'm a huge Cassandra Clare fan. I've met her. She's a lovely person. And yeah, I just think she's a great writer. And I understand if you disagree with me on a lot of stuff because she's had controversy, but we're not going to talk about that because she's gotten past that. She's done her thing with her books, and it's been great. But anyway, hopefully within the next week or so, I can bust through her books. At least the ones that I want to read. And there's a total of 5 books that I want to read. 3 of them I've already read, like twice. So, yeah, I want to reread them and then read the next 2 books. One of them, which I've already read as well. Okay, so the first 3 books I want to read are the Infernal Devices trilogy, which is the prequel series to the Last Hours trilogy. And the Last Hours is not finished yet. The 3rd and final book comes out in March, I believe, of next year. So I'm looking forward to that. And you know what, guys? This year has been kind of frustrating because I've been kind of letting BookTube influence a lot of the books that I'm reading. That's not a bad thing, but when you're pushing aside a lot of the books that you desperately want to get to, just to read a lot of, I guess, BookTube darlings or whatever, or favorite books of BookTube, like I said, it's frustrating. But yeah, Cassandra Clare is one of my favorite authors, and if I don't read a book by Cassandra Clare, at least one or two books a year, I think I go nuts because, like I said, she's one of my favorite authors. She's my favorite young adult fantasy author, so there's that. Anyway, you guys, the Infernal Devices consist of Clockwork Angel. Love this book. Clockwork Prince. Love this book even more. And the conclusion in the Infernal Devices trilogy is Clockwork Princess, which is my favorite. And this is the collector's first edition. I had to buy this book in order to get a ticket into the Q&A session that Cassandra Clare had several years ago. So much fun. I will never forget that moment, or that whole couple hours or so that we got to sit and ask her questions, and also just talk to other fans. It was a fun time. Oh, God. I also want to reread Chain of Gold, which is the first book in the last hours. And then finally read Chain of Iron. Chain of Iron came out March of 2021. And I haven't read it yet, you guys. I'm so mad at myself. Because, like I said, I love Cassandra Clare. And I've loved this book series so far. I mean, honestly, there's only 2 books, like I said, in this series. But it's so good. Oh my gosh, it's so good. This series, by the way, focuses on the children of the main characters in the Infernal Devices. So it's set like a decade or so after the Infernal Devices. So yeah, I recommend Cassandra Clare. So yeah, that. Anyway, that's all the books that I have, at least officially on my TBR, that I plan on getting to. And I will give you an update as to where I'm at, probably within the week. And you'll probably see me again, because I'm going to do a couple tag videos here and there. I'll just surprise you with which ones. Anyway, you guys, I shall see you later. Bye.